So in this video, we're going to go over generating that random number for the question. So let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to get started by adding a new script. So far, the only script we've done is the player script. So that's dealing with the movement of the player and when the player interacts with another game object. The new script we're going to create is going to be the game manager, which is going to deal with other aspects in the game. So right-click in your scripts folder, and we're going to go to create and create a C# script and go ahead and type in game manager. Go ahead and double click to open it up. And now here we are in Mono Develop. Now remembering our objective and what exactly we want to do in the game, we want the question, or the statement in our case, to say pick a number less than and then give us a random number. So we're going to have to start by creating a variable. This variable is actually going to be for the question text. So go ahead and type public because we want to access that within the inspector. Text because that's the type, and then question posed. That's going to be the name of our variable. Now text appears in red and it says that it's an error because the name text does not exist in the current context. That means we're going to actually add another package that we're going to be using in Unity. So go up to the very top, type using, and remember text is part of the UI. So Unity engine dot UI. And you can see once you end that with a semicolon, text appears blue and we're now able to use that. So we have a variable question pose where its type is a text variable. So let's go down to our start function, and in the start, so as soon as the game starts up, is when we want our first question asked. The player doesn't have to initiate the question being asked, it just happens at the start of the game. So we're going to say question posed, which is our variable. Question posed is a text, but we're going to specify that we're entering in text for the variable. So we're going to say question posed dot text. And to show you exactly what this is going to do, I'm just going to write hello for now. So we can see when we run this in the game that where our question text is, it's going to be converted or have the value of the string hello. Go ahead and save this, Command S, go back into Unity. And remember, just as we had to assign the player script to the player, we're going to have to assign the game manager to some game object. The best way to do this is just to create an empty game object. So in your hierarchy, right-click, create empty, and the empty that it creates is going to be game object. We're not concerned with where it's placed, but if you create in the hierarchy, the transform is going to be at the default position. Go ahead and reset that if you want to. And we're going to take game manager and drag it and add it to our empty game object. Now when we add that, you can see that that public variable we made, question posed, is empty. So we're going to go and open up our canvas and drag the question game object, that was the text we created in the last video, and drop it into the question posed box. So now, when we run the game, question changes to hello, because that was what we assigned the value as. Go ahead and stop the game and let's go back into our script now that we understand. So we know we don't want this to say hello. We want this to say pick a number less than, and we want it to pick some random number. So we're going to add a plus sign. The plus sign does not add value since this is a text or a string. So when we use the plus sign, it says in addition to pick a number less than, it's going to also put whatever we have after that plus sign. Since we're doing a numeric value, we do not need to have a quotation. Instead, we're just going to do that random number. Now, how do we do that? We're going to have to use the random class. So type random dot, and we're going to do a random range. We want the random numbers to be picked from a starting point to an end point and anything in between those. So our starting point, or a minimum number that we want to have, is going to be 1. Now our maximum float value is going to be 10. But in this case, 10 actually stands for the number 9 because it's 1 to 10, but not including 10. This is going to give us random numbers 1 through 9. Let's go ahead and write a comment. So 2 forward slashes, and let's say, so the question says to pick a number less than a random value 1 through 9. Now we're going to want a space between this random value and the less than sign. So between the less than and the quotation mark, go ahead and put that space in there. Save the game, go back into Unity, and hit the play button. Now it says pick a number less than 6. Let's go ahead and try again. Pick a number less than 8, and so on. Let's go ahead back into MonoDevelop. Now I want this code to be simplified a little more, so I'm going to have this random.range actually be associated with a variable. So we're going to go up into where we put our variables, and we're going to say private because we don't want to be able to access this number within the game. So private, and this is going to be an integer because we don't want the question to have decimals in the random number. So private int for integer, and let's go ahead and say question num. We need question num to be picked before the question is posed. So go right above question post.text, and we're going to say question num, which is our integer value, is going to be assigned to that random range. So go ahead and copy random.range 1, 10, and paste it, and then end it with the semicolon. And let's write a comment on that. So we're going to say generates a random number 1 through 9, and we want to use this variable in the question posed. So instead of writing plus or and random.range, we're going to use the variable question num. Let's go ahead and adjust this comment since the random value 1 through 9 is redundant in our comments, and say that question says to pick a number less than variable question num. So again, just to recap, we have a question num variable where the type is an integer, and that's going to be assigned to a random range numbers 1 through 9. 1 is included in that random range, and 10 is not. So 1, 10 represents numbers 1 through 9. In the question posed text, so our question text game object that we have in Unity, right here, I was going to say pick a number less than that variable question num. And this happens all at the start of the game. Let's go ahead and run this one more time. And you can see it says pick a number less than 5. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and place a canvas on this square sprite and have that also generate a random number that we can choose. And don't forget to like my video and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below.